Hello, and welcome to our presentation on vocabulary acquisition and instruction by Roxanne, Anna, and Katrina. My name is Roxanne, and I'll be presenting the screencast today. Our rationale for choosing the topic of vocabulary acquisition and instruction came from authors like Presley, who really indicated how the importance of vocabulary could help struggling readers. The interest in vocabulary instruction has increased in the last 2 decades. In 2000, the National Reading Panel stated that vocabulary instruction is one of the 5 essential components of reading instruction. In 2010, the Common Core standards were released in order to create college and career-ready standards for kindergarten through 12th grade in English language arts and mathematics. The importance of vocabulary is evident within the CCS document, as the word vocabulary occurs more than 150 times. So why is vocabulary so important? A 2013 study found that the amount of time focused on learning vocabulary positively affected the growth in reading comprehension. Although it is understood that vocabulary instruction is an important piece of a child's education, it seems that vocabulary development lessons provided in core reading programs rarely reflect much of what we know about the most effective ways to foster vocabulary growth. In order to provide quality vocabulary lessons, it is important for teachers to go beyond what is provided for them in the reading curriculum. And that's another reason why we really wanted to look into how to better instruct our readers on vocabulary. With the exceptional language needs, English learners and students with learning disabilities require targeted and explicit instruction to achieve the language competency levels associated with the growth and mastery of CCS. We also included a link for vocabulary for English language learners, and this really shows you how to teach vocabulary to English language learners. It's a really fun site to check out. So, steps for vocabulary acquisition. Knowledge of a word has many different levels. To begin, a reader must know how to identify and pronounce the word. Then the reader must determine the meaning of the word using the context in which it is embedded. Word meaning is also affected by the reader's prior knowledge and/or experience with that particular word. As Gambrill and Morrow state, many meaningful exposures build the depth and breadth of our word knowledge. So we created a double bubble map, which is a schematic map tool that you can use. It's a little bit better than a Venn diagram because you can really fit all the information that you need. We created it on conversational versus academic vocabulary. So basically, general vocabulary refers to the day-to-day word usage dealing with living and schooling. Conversational vocabulary can also be placed in the same category because it is specific to the language used in conversations. Learning academic vocabulary, however, is different from general or conversational vocabulary because it is specific to academic texts. Increasing academic achievement is dependent upon the knowledge and use of academic vocabulary found repeatedly across the curriculum. Academic words such as synthesize, analyze, communicate are the content or technical studies. And technical studies then are the count-specific presentation of information related to specific skill set or direction of study. And you can see in the middle, they both share, both general vocabulary and academic vocabulary are similar in that they are both, they basically need to be explicitly taught. Students need meaningful and context-rich experiences for hearing, saying, and practicing the language. In addition, students need to learn more than just the meaning of the words. They also need to use the words in academic contexts, use synonyms, and compare word relationships of the new word with other words. So you have to actually use the words and make meaning of the words. When it comes to vocabulary instruction, it is essential that it involves opportunities for explicit instruction. The instruction needs to be explicit, but also meaningful and engaging. Looking up word definitions from the dictionary and writing them on a worksheet would not be a valuable way to teach it. Instead, teachers should provide rich and meaningful language experiences, teach the individual words, teach word learning strategies, and develop word consciousness. In addition, teachers should promote the deep understanding of words with multiple viewings. Students should be encouraged to use the words in meaningful ways, and all students must be actively engaged in vocabulary learning. When planning explicit vocabulary instruction, one thing that is important to consider is the amount of time that is being spent each day on vocabulary. Oftentimes, vocabulary instruction can be thrown into a 5-minute portion of a lesson, when much more time is actually needed for the instruction to be meaningful. Here are the Marzano steps. This is a great video to check out. It's a Powtoon, which is a really fun way to demonstrate information. But basically, the Marzano steps, step number 1 is to provide a description and an explanation or example of the new vocabulary word. Step number 2, you need to ask students to restate the description, explanation, or example in their own words. Step number 3, ask students to construct a picture, symbol, or graphic representation of the word. Step number 4, engage students periodically in activities that help them add to their knowledge of the terms in their notebooks. And step number 5, periodically ask students to discuss the terms with one another. And step number 6, involve students periodically in games and allow them to play with the terms. So it's a multi-step process for these students to really get and understand the vocabulary that they work with. So then we have also word tiers. Tier 1 words and Tier 3 words should typically not be chosen as a part of everyday vocabulary instruction. These types of words will either be learned through everyday conversation at Tier 1, or they do not have enough frequency because they are only related to a specific domain, which is Tier 3. What should be taught are high-frequency words and that occur across a number of domains, but are not known by many students. So at an elementary level, things like that. So here are some other lists that you could use for the breakdown for K6 vocabulary. And here you can see that there are different sections that you can look at to really look at Tier 2 vocabulary. Children's books also have a really great way to build vocabulary. As early as 3 years of age, the size of a child's vocabulary can vary greatly depending on their exposure to language and experience with the text. And here are just some empirical evidence and data that really shows how it is important to really use children's books to build vocabulary. This is a Fryer model. It's actually pretty similar to what Marzano's steps were, where basically you're interacting with the words in different steps, not just defining the word. And you're giving examples, you're making meaning of it. To go even beyond that, you can really try to use the vocabulary words in activities and games, use it in their writing, and then have them discuss with one another. That's the biggest thing. Have them use them in sentences and presentations. And this is a good first step for students. Semantic mapping is also a great way and a great tool to really show the information. It supports students by helping them associate similarities and differences among similar related ideas. So like I did with the double bubble map, it really showed the different meanings between conversational and academic vocabulary. These are just different types of maps that you could use. Well, there's the double bubble that I showed you. There's circle maps. This is a tree map. And this are just word bubble maps, basically. Word mapping has been shown to be effective in developing vocabulary of students with any kind of learning disability. So take a word like disagreeable, you take the prefix, which is dis, root, which is agree, and the suffix is able. And then you try to make meaning with each part, and then they decide the definition. So not having the same opinion or not getting along. This is also great for students who really struggle with certain words and trying to remember them. So, definition plus rich context and a picture. Basically, in the text, Teaching Vocabulary of English Language Learners by Graves, August, and Manchella and Martinez, one strategy listed is a definition plus rich context and a picture. So one, basically create a student-friendly definition and rich context of the word. Here's a video that actually explains it in further detail, so you can check that out. Two, display the word and give students the opportunity to repeat the word several times. So do like letter sound activities so they can pay attention. Three, basically, when possible, include an image for the student to visualize the image. Ask questions about the words that allow students to discuss the new vocabulary. If you do not have a clear image that demonstrates the word, it may be better to leave it out in order to avoid any kind of confusion. And then another way to make vocabulary instruction more active for the students is to provide them with a hand gesture to use when they hear or say a word. And this website is a helpful resource to find hand gestures for many words. So in conclusion, many words that make up students' vocabularies are acquired through context, but it is also clear that students need high-quality vocabulary instruction in order to be successful in building a large vocabulary by the end of high school. Going beyond what the standard reading curriculum has provided for vocabulary instruction is important for students to be successful in acquiring and retaining new vocabulary words. Planning vocabulary lessons to include multiple exposures to new words, rich contexts, images, and student-friendly definitions will ensure students are successful in achieving a solid foundation for a rich vocabulary throughout their schooling experience. I hope that you all received really great tools and instructions that you can use in your classrooms to really help build that vocabulary. We also included some resources that you can use in your classrooms. Please feel free to check them out. Here are the two different videos for the different steps and the word tier video. And here are our references. Thanks again, and hope you enjoyed it.